Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Danny, and today Great.com talks with Jim McCormick, the Executive Director at Great Falls Rescue Mission. If you haven't heard of it, its mission is to provide emergency services and long term solutions for the homeless and those in need. If you're new here, remember to press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app. Hi, Jim, and welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us today. And I'm really eager to know more about the history of the rescue mission. We've been talking about, and it's been a long run for you guys, right? But tell us a little bit about it.
Well, our mission was started in April of 1963. I heard multiple stories where some churches got together and decided we needed a mission. I also heard the story that the initial executive director felt called by the Lord to come to Great Falls, Montana and start a mission. So I'm not quite sure exactly how it started, but the two got together and out of it became what it is today, the Great Falls Rescue Mission. So we've been doing this for 60 years as of this month, and it's a wonderful feat, and I'm proud to be a part of it. So yeah, we started it with a very small mission for men only, grew out of that very quickly and ended up purchasing an old hotel in town, which became the mission that's still the men's shelter today. Shortly after we opened that up, we realized that there was ladies that were in need of help as well. So we cordoned off a section of the upstairs so that ladies could have some security and stay there as well. Then we had ladies with children that were in need. So we ended up buying a building across the street from the original shelter and turning that into the women and family shelter. That was in the early 2000s. And quickly we ran out of space there for families. Ended up moving our administrative offices out of it and onto we provide more space for families or for ladies with children. But the whole time we were doing this, we couldn't take care of an intact family. The two buildings that we had communal bathrooms. There was no privacy, so we couldn't allow a dad and a mom in the building with their children. We had to have the ladies with their children in one building and the men in a building by themselves, well, over in the men's shelter. So it really was detrimental to the family unit, so to speak. So we took it upon ourselves to pray through an idea and came up with the plan of building a family shelter back in like 2012 or 13. Started a fundraising campaign and raised enough money to build a 135-bed family shelter, which opened in 2017. So we've been having three different shelters now for a little over 6 years, or right around 6 years. The women's shelter can house about 80 people, the men's shelter about 90, and the family shelter is about 135. So we're roughly 300-bed shelter in the middle of Montana. Beautiful place, but it's cold. Yeah, we have long winters and cold weather, and that's one of the things that we strive for the most, is to try and make sure that nobody has to stay out in very cold weather. If they choose to not stay at the shelter, we have what we call an emergency services plan, and they can come in the evening and get warm, spend the night, have a breakfast in the morning, and then they can go do what they want to do the next day. So when they can come back the following night, as long as it's cold. So that's probably more than what you were looking for, but
No, that's exactly what I was looking for. And it's a wonderful history, I think, and a beautiful mission. I gotta say, I don't have the experience of feeling the cold, not just because I'm in Brazil, but because of my privileges.
Right.
But I can imagine how vital this type of service is for people that find themselves in this situation. And this is something that I'm just curious. I don't know if our audience also has this knowledge, but could you give us some social context of what do you see in Great Falls right now in terms of the need that people have for your services? Yes.
Well, you would think that being in a cold weather zone that people would move south for the winter if they were homeless, but many of them don't. They end up homeless in many different ways, and there's not one that probably ever figured that they would choose to be homeless. There's mental issues, there's trauma in their lives, there's addictive personalities that are all part of it. And many times the addictive personality is they try to self-medicate from the trauma or the mental illness. But they end up for one reason or another in Great Falls, Montana. And we enjoy 300 and some days a year of sunshine, but 4 to 6 months of that could be in sub-zero temperature because we're close to the Canadian border, because we don't want people to have to free death under a bridge rather than come and have a decent meal. In addition to the emergency services, we have open lunch and dinner for anybody that's not homeless or is homeless that needs a meal. We've advertised or gotten on the radio and said, if you need to choose to make your electric payment or buy groceries, pay your electric payment and come to us, and we'll feed you twice a day so that you can stay in the home that you're in and you don't get evicted for not having your power paid. We have it's called emergency services. Then we have short stays, which, they get homeless somehow and they lose their identification, or they have bills that they have to pay to get caught up before they can get back into housing, that type of thing. So we work with them to try and get the information that they need or the bills paid off that they need. And they can stay with us as long as they need to, as long as they're working towards that end goal of getting into their own place and moving forward in life. And then we have a recovery program, and we're a Christian nonprofit, totally based on biblical values. And our recovery program is totally biblically based. We believe that if you study the Bible, it'll tell you how you're supposed to live in your life, and it will give you the direction that your life needs to go. So it works very well if they're taking it seriously. But that's a 16-month program. So folks that sign up for that are here for quite a while. And we've had a lot of great successes with it. We've had people come from all over the country, even other countries, to do our recovery program. And it's really what keeps me going, because I see that people are making lifelong changes in their lives, and you see the success stories, and that's the hope that we get to enjoy while we're here. So those are the main programs that we have. We do have free medical services for folks, that type of thing. But I'll let you talk for a minute and ask me another question, because I'll keep going.
Oh, I love when people keep going. It actually helps me a lot. But I love to hear about this. And what it makes me think is the size of the structure that you might need to provide all of those services. And that leads me to another curiosity question here, that is, what is the role that volunteers have in this whole structure? Because I believe that there is a lot of room for them, maybe a lot of need for volunteer work. Yeah. And also, what is the community engagement? Because you must create a very close relationship with the community that you're serving, right? So how
we do
both those things work for you guys?
Well, volunteers are an essential part of it. When we first started, there was 2 employees. And so you couldn't get a volunteers. Last week in the United States, we had Volunteer Appreciation Week, and we put out some advertising thanking all of our volunteers. We have over 1,500 volunteers that are fairly active with us on a regular basis. We have some that are almost like an employee. They come every week the same time, they do the same job. Many of them teach classes, or they serve meals, or we have volunteer groups. That we had one in here last night that was painting part of the women's shelter, just so that we can keep the buildings functional and operational. So volunteers are an integral part of what we do. 1,500 is the ones that are very active. I think our database of volunteers over the 60 years is over 7,000 deep, because we've had so many people that have come and done certain things. And really, that's how I got involved with the mission. My daughter, while she was in high school, got extra credit for coming down and helping with the after school program for the children at the time. And she started telling me some of the things that were going on. And the director was a friend of mine at the time. So I started financially supporting the mission. And then felt called by our Lord and Savior to come and work at the mission. And so I got a job with them 12 and a half years ago, roughly, and started working through some of the leadership positions. And about 3 years ago, they asked me to take over. So I've been blessed with a wonderful job, but it's not a job to me. It's a calling, and it is what our Lord wants me to do. So yeah, it's a wonderful place. Right now we have roughly 40 employees because we have 3 different shelters. The family shelter is a whole new ball of wax for us, even at 6 years old, because children take a lot of effort to keep them in a situation that keeps them out of trouble, keeps them focused on the right thing. So we always had an after school program for kids of the community, but now we've really honed it down to just the kids that are in the building. And we've had instances where we've had up to 80 children in this building, which doesn't leave a lot of room for adults. So we call it the family shelter, but the Cameron Family Shelter, but we should call it the Camry Children's Center, because there's more children than there is adults. But it's been wonderful to work through the intricacies of this building being such a blessing. We work with our community in every way possible. We have good relationships with all the mental health agencies in town to try and get our people the mental health issues that they need worked through, the trauma issues that are there, the addiction issues that are there. We don't try and be of ourselves. We know that we do better if we work together as a community. So all the different agencies that we can work with, we have developed good relationships with. We have outreach programs with many of the nonprofits. For years, the back to school time was a big thing, and everybody was doing their own thing. And last year, a number of nonprofits and ours got together, and we decided we'd do a whole community-wide effort so that it's all under one roof, and it worked out really well. So, and I was proud to be a part of that. That's great to see the community working together for the good of the whole community. So it's been a wonderful ride for me. I love what I do, and we're just looking at ways that we can serve the Lord and those that He brings to us to take care of. And many people leave here changed. It's a great place to be.
I think your joy and those numbers are the perfect statement for this role, the role that the mission has in people's lives. This is just wonderful.
Yeah, I just thought of another avenue that we could talk about. We've been doing this for 60 years, and never have we taken government funding for anything that we do. Everything that we do is by the grace of God and the love and support of Great Falls and Central Montana. And yes, there's other organizations that have helped us, different foundations throughout the country. But it's just amazing to me. When I put a need out on Facebook or Twitter or one of those things, or even just put it on our website, for instance, there was a time when we were really short on disposable diapers, and you put the need out, and the next day you have 40 packages of diapers. I mean, because the community sees the need and they're there to help. Financially, they have always been there for us. We raised $9.5 million to build the Cameron Family Center, and that didn't happen overnight. But when we opened the doors, we didn't have a mortgage, which is amazing. So our community, Central Montana, everybody that has ever donated to us has always been there, and they know the value that they're getting with their their donation, and they see that we're changing people's lives and trying to help those that have been less fortunate due to choices or whatever goes on in their lives. And that's what we're all about. And we try to take care of anybody and everybody that comes to our doors, and do it with love and support that we've learned from studying our Bible. So,
oh, this is truly, truly beautiful, and I'm actually quite moved to hear this statement. I think it's really incredible, the power of the community, and as you said, just if the possibility to put out a need and see this need being met, it's just truly, truly amazing. And you have like this celebration coming up, right? We talked about it before, this celebration of your 60th anniversary, right? So how is
yes,
that gonna happen? Tell us the details of this.
every year we've done a spring banquet, where we say thank you to our donors. We put on a nice meal. For many years, it was um, at a local restaurant, and then we took it upon ourselves to do it, and we rented a hall, and our cooks from the mission would take care of the meal. Then we had some changes in our staffing, and we had to go back to a restaurant, take some of the stress off of the staff at the mission. So we've tried to do spring banquets. The beginning of the pandemic really took that away from us. We had a banquet scheduled in April, and they were locking everything down in March, late March, early April. So we moved it to the fall that year, and then everything was still locked down. So we moved it to the spring, and it was still locked down. So we went to the fall, and it ended up in the fall. So last year in the fall, we decided we'd try and move it back to the spring. And we wanted to do something totally different. Before, we would get a speaker in, and they would provide an uplifting message, and we'd have a nice meal, and we'd give people an update of what was going on at the mission. This year, we wanted to have kind of a concert with a well-known Christian artist. And working with those agencies doesn't go near as fast as we were hoping. So we kind of started a little late according to their timeline. Couldn't get it nailed down for April. We moved it to May, and that didn't happen. And so we moved it to September. The good news is we have a confirmation of who's coming. I'm not at liberty to say yet, but it's going to be September 26th. 2023 at the Heritage Inn here in Great Falls, Montana. And it will be something totally different than the rescue mission has ever done. So I'm excited for that. And the main reason we're doing it is to say thank you to all the donors over the years. The act that's coming is a little more for the younger crowd, and many of our donors are not the younger crowd. But we're also looking ahead and trying to get the younger crowd to realize who we are and how we get things done. So it's going to be a fun thing. And then we also have our banquet moving back to April next year, and we already have that person nailed down for that one too. So the good news was we had to postpone this year, but the bad news was we already got next year's nailed down. So yeah, it's a wonderful thing. So I talked a little bit about the pandemic, brought up some things. We had our school system shut down during the pandemic. The kids had to stay home. At the time, we had like 65 to 70 children living at the family shelter, and they were supposed to have classes in their home. And this was the home of those 65 people. So we had to have tablets for them, which the schools provided many of them. They had to have a private place where they could do homework or studies, that type of thing. So we got thrown into a whole ringer there, and the kids didn't miss out on much. And I mean, it was awesome to see how everybody pulled together to take care of the folks that were at the rescue missions. So I'd like to say thank you to everybody that was a part of that, because it was amazing to watch and see the positivity coming out of our community, trying to help us get through all the craziness that was going on during the pandemic. So
wow, I honestly think it's going to be a wonderful celebration, and I completely share with you with this enthusiasm of thanking people. I feel like the pandemic was such a harsh time for everybody, and the only way that we got out of it was by getting together. So I'm really glad to hear that this was a source of strength to you guys to keep moving forward. This is really,
Right.
really wonderful. And talking about this point, I think it's important to ask you, how can people support the work that you're doing right now? What are the best ways to get in touch with you and help you meet your needs?
Well, my email address is jim.mccormick@gfrm.org, and it's all lowercase. And McCormick is just like the McCormick Spice Company, McCormick. And it's G as in great, F as in falls, R as in rescue, M as in mission.org. And you can email me there. Our website is gfrm.org or gfrescuemission.org. You can go on our website and check out what's going on there. There's a donate button if you'd like to donate financially. Thank you ahead of time. God bless you for that. Finances are always the one thing that nobody likes to ask for, but we have to. I mean, it's how we get our job done. We have many organizations in town that we work with to have foodstuffs donated, but we ask local residents to bring food at certain times of the year. We put out the call for turkeys at Thanksgiving and hams at Christmas and Easter, and nobody's ever gone hungry staying at the rescue mission, and I'm proud of that fact, because we have been blessed by our community with the food that we need to provide, and but we can always use more. My senior staff was amazed during the pandemic, because I'd come out of my office in tears. I'd have a rancher call me and say, "Well, I have a cow that I want to give you, an entire beef, and take it. It's going to this butcher shop. Call them and tell them how you want it." And so I would get to call the butcher shop, and they'd say, "Well, you don't want steaks, you don't want roast, you just want hamburger out of this?" And I said, "Well, hamburger goes a lot further, and that's what we really need it." And so we have been blessed with lots of different types of meat that we have. There's always certain needs. If you're in the area and you want to bring food by, if you want to send it, coffee, milk, eggs, bacon, sausage, cereal, not just kid cereal though. We have lots of need for cereals for adults too. With 3 shelters, you go through a lot of food. Our cooking staff goes through 400 to 500 meals a day. So, and that puts out a lot of food, and we have been blessed. Like I said, we have many organizations in town that provide food for us. Matter of fact, the place that we do our banquet at, if they have a banquet and there's leftover food, they always say, "Take it to the rescue mission," and they'll utilize it. So we have been blessed with all that. So.
Thank you for giving us this perspective, and I do urge people to get in touch with you, to get in touch with your organization through the website. It's pretty easy, and you can find the link for them in the description of this episode, either on your podcast app or on YouTube. Now, thank you so much, Jim, for joining us today. It was a great talk, truly.
I've had a great time. Of course, I love to talk about what we get to do here. We have a wonderful staff. I truly believe that they're all called here to do the work that God's given them to do, and we get it done. And we just want to put the word out there that we're doing the best we can with what we've got to work with. And if you'd like to become a donor, we'd love to have you do that. If you're in the area, if you're from Brazil and you're coming to Montana, call me. I'd love to show you around the organization and give you a tour so that you can truly see what all goes on. So I didn't even touch really on the medical clinics, but they're open to the public. If you have a tooth that needs pulled, or your back's out of whack and you need a chiropractor, or you need your eyes checked, we can take care of that for you as well. So yeah, we try and be a full service place that people in need can get things done, and we do it by the grace of God. So.
That is beautiful, and of course I will hit you up. I would love to have a
Come
tour.
visit, please do. Yeah.
Everyone listening and watching, also thank you so much for staying here with us for one more episode. And remember, if you enjoyed the episode, press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app, because that shows the algorithms that this is an important conversation and we can spread the word about the importance of the Great Falls Rescue Mission. Bye, and I see you in the next episode.
Thank you very, very much.